Hello everyone, this is Hilbert. Today we finally tell you about a mystery that is well known all over the world. That is the Egyptian pyramids. The pyramids are called the miracle of human civilization architecture. How they can move such heavy stones is still a mystery. So when people talk about the Egyptian pyramids, there is one thing that is also well known. That is the terrifying curse of the ancient Egyptian pharaoh. It is said that anyone who enters the pyramid will die because of this curse. The first group of scholars and tomb robbers who entered the pyramid for archaeology suffered inexplicable harm because of the curse. In the end, they died strangely. There is no scientific explanation for the mystery of the death of the pyramid invaders. Later, someone refuted the rumor, saying that the curse was actually made up by a novel. The pharaoh in The Curse of the Ancient Egyptian Pharaoh is Tutankhamun, the youngest pharaoh of the 18th dynasty of ancient Egypt, so this curse is also called the Curse of Tutankhamun. He ascended the throne at the age of 9 and ruled for only 9 years AD. He died mysteriously at the age of 18 and was buried in the pyramid. It was not until 1923 that the tomb door was opened by later generations. When explorers and archaeologists opened Tutankhamun's tomb, they found several spell inscriptions written inside. One of them reads, "Whoever disturbs the pharaoh's sleep, death will spread its wings and descend on his head." Another one says, "Anyone who enters this tomb with an impure heart will be strangled by the neck like a bird." The door of the youngest pharaoh's tomb opened at the same time, and mysterious things followed. Many people died one after another. This is the mysterious curse of the ancient Egyptian pharaoh. In 1916, an expedition led by the famous British explorer Sir Carnarvon and the British-Egyptian archaeologist Carter spent 7 years in the mountains of the Valley of the Kings in Egypt to find the tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun. In November 1922, they finally found the seal of Tutankhamun's tomb. The excavation of the ancient tomb was not as easy as they imagined, until February 18 of the following year. They had just opened the tomb. Carter and others were deeply shocked by the scene before their eyes. Tutankhamun's tomb was like a museum with extremely rich collections. There were more than 5,000 pieces of jewelry, crafts, furniture, clothing, cosmetics and various weapons in the tomb. In the pink front room, there were 3 large golden beds, with monster shapes carved around the beds. There were 2 life-size black guard statues standing opposite each other beside the bed, wearing golden skirts and holding hammers and spears. The room was filled with precious treasures. There was a throne inlaid with gems, shining glittering ancient cars, white jade vases, beautifully carved gold beds and chairs, various musical instruments, and more. A bowl filled with soil was also found in the tomb, which was obviously used when the tomb was sealed. I don't know which migrant worker left fingerprints on the paint surface, which are still clearly visible today. The coffin room is guarded by 2 warrior statues. There are 4 golden shrines, a crystal sarcophagus and 3 sets of coffins. The inner coffin is made of pure gold, and it is inscribed with the famous saying of the young pharaoh, "I saw it yesterday, I know tomorrow." There are also 2 sentences, which are the curse inscriptions on it that triggered the curse of the ancient Egyptian pharaoh. The biggest discovery is that Tutankhamun is lying in the coffin, wearing a huge golden mask. This mask looks almost exactly like him. X-rays revealed only a scar on the mask, slightly different in thickness from the scars on the pharaoh's face. The young pharaoh looked sad and calm. On his chest hung a rosary and a collar made of flower-shaped carvings, and his hands held shackles and hooks. The colors of cornflowers, lilies and lotus flowers had peeled off but were still vaguely visible. The mummy of Pharaoh Tutankhamun was wrapped in thin cloth, and covered with collars, amulets, rings, gold and silver bracelets and various gems. There were also 2 daggers, one gold and the other with a gold handle and iron blade. The opening of Tutankhamun's tomb caused a sensation in the world archaeological community and attracted journalists from all over the world. There was even a steady stream of tourists to the excavation site of Ersul, 450 miles south of Cairo. However, the real horror had just begun. Lord Carnarvon, now 57, 18 years old and in good health. But when he entered the tomb, he was suddenly bitten by a mosquito on his left cheek. Unexpectedly, this small wound caused him to contract acute pneumonia and eventually died. Later, the doctor who examined the pharaoh's mummy reported that there was also a scar under the left cheek of the mummy, which was exactly the same as the scar of the mosquito bite in Carnarvon. Shortly after the death of the Earl of Carnarvon, his old friend, American railroad tycoon George Jaggold, also went to Egypt because he was full of doubts about the death of his old friend. Carter led the millionaire into Tutankhamun's tomb and took a closer look. The next morning of the visit, Jaggold had a high fever for no reason and died suddenly that night. Lord Carnarvon's younger brother Herbert, who participated in the expedition, died of peritonitis shortly afterwards. Richard Bethel, who assisted Carter in cataloging the artifacts in the tomb, committed suicide in 1929. In February of the following year, his father, Lord Westbury, also jumped to his death in London. It is said that a vase taken from Tutankhamun's tomb was placed in his bedroom. In 1823, Italian archaeologist Bersani. He was an ancient Egyptian archaeological expert who studied mummies. When he led a team to Africa this spring, he also suffered from the same strange disease as Earl Carnarvon. He had a high fever for a long time and talked nonsense all day long, often shouting, "The hand of death has touched my body." In such confusing nonsense, he died on December 3 this year at the age of 45. Professor Dumeken from Germany is also an expert scholar obsessed with ancient Egypt. He often visited the ruins of ancient Egypt, mainly the interiors of pyramids and temples where texts are preserved. After a while, he went crazy and kept describing the situation of some ancient cities. Soon, he died in madness. There are countless examples of bizarre deaths like this. All those who have touched Tutankhamun's tomb died in strange ways. What's more mysterious is that they talked nonsense before they died, fulfilling the curse of the pharaoh. Could it be that this young king who had been sleeping for 1,000 years really cast a spell in his tomb to kill anyone who disturbed him? We can see in this picture that all the strange deaths of people who explored Tutankhamun's tomb for various reasons are summarized. We can see that all the deaths occurred between 1923 and 1939, when medicine was not well developed and the economy was relatively turbulent. They did not happen today when medicine was developed. Of course, these experiences seem to be more horrifying. So what is the explanation for all these? As people who came into contact with Tutankhamun's tomb died one by one, rumors about the curse of the ancient Egyptian pharaoh spread. People believed that the tomb robbers disturbed the pharaoh's rest and were punished by the pharaoh and died. With the advancement of science, the secrets inside the pyramids are gradually revealed. 1. Poison. The priests of ancient Egypt are the earliest known nation in human history and the nation that is best at using poison. As early as 3000 BC, during the first pre-dynastic period of Egypt, the first pharaoh of Egypt, Ka, had appointed people to plant poisonous plants. People recently discovered documents from the period of Pharaoh Menes, which recorded many methods of using poisons. It not only contains opium, arsenic, aconite, etc., but also contains some cyanide. In addition, in ancient Egypt, the poisonous toad had a supreme status and was regarded as a sacred object. In addition to its toxins, there is no other convincing reason. 2. Deadly fungi. In 1989, American archaeologist Kent Venice presided over the excavation of a tomb numbered KV5 in the Valley of the Kings. This tomb buried 48 princes of Ramses II of the 19th dynasty. The tomb had long been robbed, but it still left an unexpected discovery for the excavators. This is a dark and humid tomb, and clusters of monstrous fungi can be seen everywhere in the tomb. They feed on mummies and buried food, and the infiltrating Nile floods bring them more food. More importantly, these guys don't need oxygen. The discovery of these deadly fungi is very consistent with the information found in the excavation records of Tutankhamun's tomb. That is to say, when Tutankhamun's tomb was first opened, many clusters of unexplained things were also found. They are likely to be the same deadly fungi as in the prince's tomb. This is one of the important reasons for the death of Sir Carnarvon and more victims. So why did none of the archaeologists who excavated KV5 die? That's because modern science and technology have made people understand the importance of isolation. When the archaeological team first entered the tomb, they would wear protective clothing, masks, gloves, etc. People did not have this awareness during the early excavations of Tutankhamun's tomb. The frenzied German Professor Dumachin, at that time, only tied a piece of orange peel under the nose to dilute the stink of some tombs. It is impossible to remove this deadly fungus. Spores self-isolate. Therefore, it is also believed that the ancient Egyptians were likely to use poison as a weapon to protect the tomb of the pharaoh. Of course, the use of poison is not necessarily intentional. Because the gorgeous colors on the murals that can be seen everywhere in the tomb contain various highly toxic ingredients. In addition, corpse poison is also a terrible toxin, and people who come into contact with it will induce incurable diseases such as meningitis. These various toxins are mixed together and piled up in the closed pharaoh's tomb, unable to dissipate. Of course, they may also cause irreparable damage to the body of the invader. 3. Radiation of radiation. Take a closer look at the cases of death due to the Pharaoh's curse. In addition to high fever and stroke, there are more cases of madness and damaged blood circulation systems. Therefore, the explanation of radiation is also considered. Today, uranium ore has been found in central Egypt, which seems to further confirm the possibility of this speculation. Part of the pyramid is made of radioactive stone. More precisely, the ancient Egyptians discovered the power of radioactive uranium and used it to protect the safety of the pharaoh after death. Or those amulets that are tightly attached to the mummies or placed in the tombs, etc., are made of higher purity uranium-containing ores, or at least, processed, by radiation. The mummy wears many ornaments, the most conspicuous of which is the amulet placed on the chest, with a portrait of the god of death Osiris, and a line of text. Wake up from your sleep, you can overcome the harm you see. All of you. The curse of the ancient Egyptian pharaoh is suspected to be a fiction. British scholars have found documents proving that the Tutankhamun curse did not actually originate in Egypt, but was concocted by modern British and American novelists. The mystery of the curse of Pharaoh Tutankhamun was uncovered by Egyptologist Montserrat of the Open University in the UK. He followed the clues and traced it back to an unknown British novelist and a mummy stripping performance more than 170 years ago. The performance was staged at the Piccadilly Theatre in London in 1828. In 1923, the tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun was opened. The famous novelist Corelli linked the two and said sensationally, "Anyone who breaks into the closed tomb will suffer the most tragic punishment." Lord Carnarvon, who took the lead in breaking into the tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun, died suddenly 2 weeks later. And The Curse of the Pharaoh was on the front page of major newspapers around the world. The saying, "Anyone who dares to touch the pharaoh's tomb will be executed immediately," spread like wildfire, sparking speculation. In fact, of the 26 people present when the tomb was excavated, only 6 died within 10 years. There are only known and unknown things in the world, no mysteries. I can tell you responsibly that those so-called curses are completely fabricated by unscrupulous publishers. After verification, we confirm that these two lines of text were not found in Tutankhamun's tomb. Those archaeologists who died of lung disease died of pathological changes caused by inhaling a large amount of radon gas accumulated in the tomb in a short period of time. The stones collected from the Nile River when building the Valley of the Kings contained a large amount of radon gas, which accumulated in the tomb. This radioactive element made the archaeologists sick and died.